Hello and welcome to your induction video for your diploma enrolment with Access Group Training. First of all, congratulations on your diploma enrolment. You're probably part excited and part scared at the moment. The purpose of this induction is to hopefully tip the balance in favour of being more excited rather than scared. There's a few points that we're going to cover throughout the induction. The three main areas that we're going to talk about is firstly just giving you a bit of a background on what to expect in a diploma just in general terms. So no explicit content on business or human resource management, but just diplomas in general in how they run. That sort of information can help a lot of students feel a bit more comfortable with what's in front of them. After we've gone through that, we'll talk about the very important area of revealing our expectations of you as a diploma student and your responsibilities that you need to live up to as a diploma student. And the last thing that we'll have a quick chat about is getting you started, where to go to from here, and yeah, just making a very good start to things. So let's talk first of all about, in very general broad terms, what to expect when undertaking a diploma. So a diploma itself will be broken down into a number of subjects. When you hear us talk about subjects, we'll tend to use the term units or perhaps even units of competency. So if you ever see any correspondence from us and we're using those terms like units, we're actually just talking about the different subjects within a diploma. Now, how many units are in your diploma? Well, it actually varies depending on which diploma you've enrolled into. So, for example, a diploma of business has around about 8 units of competency units, but if you compare that to one of the childcare diplomas, they have upwards of 20 units in them. So there can be quite a difference there. But one of the things that will clearly communicate with you is precisely what units are in your particular diploma, and also what times you're given to do each of those units, and that'll be sent to you in your training plan, which we discuss later on. Now, how can you be successful in a diploma? What you need to do is basically you need to be deemed as competent in all of the units of competency through your diploma. And to demonstrate that competence, you're going to work through various assessments that you will find that are included with each one of those units. So it will be relatively clear to you on what assessments need to be done. We have actually recorded a separate video to actually help students understand how to navigate around their learning website, their e-learning website, and the expectations of assessments. So that's dealt with separately as well. Continuing on a bit with what happens within a diploma, a really key point to get across is that responsibility for the study and work and the completion of the assessments is all on the student. It's our job here as the training organisation and as the trainers to facilitate your work, to give you feedback on your assessments, but the buck stops with you. You're required to do the work, you're required to set aside the time to do the work and complete the work on time. Now, when you're completing your assessments, you'll find that they need to be completed at a certain quality level and within a certain deadline. So the days of just answering questions with a couple of simple bullet points, or partial sentences, or poor punctuation and things like that, they don't exist with a diploma level course. The quality of your answers must not only be correct in quality, but they must be of a business quality in your writing as well. And importantly, so things just don't drag on forever, there will be time frames set when units are due and all the competencies or all the assessments within those units need to be done by. Now, there's one other thing as well that we as trainers and a training organisation just continually assess you on and monitor you on, and it's an area called foundation skills, which just requires a little bit more of a description. So if you ever hear us refer to foundation skills, we're talking about a combination of two things. We're talking about language literacy and numeracy skills, and we're also talking about employability skills. So to put this in more simple terms, when you hear language literacy and numeracy, it means things such as your ability to listen to information, to speak, to read information, writing information. Digital literacy as well is now a really important thing. And also your ability to work with mathematical ideas. So that's typically what's covered by language literacy and numeracy. Employability skills are a different set of skills where you need to demonstrate your ability to collaborate with others, to do problem solving, manage yourself, learning within technology, so ICT skills, and being able to participate in a modern workplace and a contemporary life. So even though the qualification that you might be studying might be management, it might be human resource management, that doesn't mean that you can just shake your head and say, oh, I don't understand computers, I don't get computers, I can't email. That's actually a core requirement. You must develop and learn and persevere with gaining those skills as much as the core management skills themselves. So just be really aware of that. So without those foundation skills, you would find it almost impossible to participate within the diploma learning itself. Now, I normally don't pile information on a screen like this, but in the context of what we were just discussing, if you have a look at the left-hand side of the table, you'll find the list of the foundation skills, learning, reading, writing, and so on, and then down a little bit lower, some of the employability skills, navigate the work world, interact with others, and so on. Now, over at the right-hand side is a description of how you would demonstrate a given learning skill. Now, the reason that this is important for you, if I were to say to you, oh, well, what's your reading skills like or your writing skills like? Hopefully you'd just respond back and say, oh, they're fine, I can read and write. And that may be true, but we're talking about your ability to read and your ability to write at a diploma level. So the description over the right-hand side, they were for a particular unit. I forget which one it was. It's actually not that important. But if we have a look at the context of the reading skill, on that column on the right-hand side, the reading skill relates to your ability to gather, interpret, and analyze text in organizational documents to facilitate performance management. So clearly this unit must have something to do with performance management. So it's not just can you read or do you read, it's can you read, can you write, do you have numeracy skills at the required level and within the required context of this particular unit. So don't worry about committing that table to memory or anything like that, but for some people it's nice for them to see, well, what do we actually mean when we're saying language literacy and numeracy skills and employability skills? This is just a nice sort of wrap up of what that would mean in practice. Now, just talking about your responsibilities of the student. One of the key things is you need to set aside quality study time for your work. If you leave this to chance or you leave it to next week, it's just never going to happen, or it's certainly never going to happen on time. So right up front, you need to make the decision of, I will allow X amount of hours per week for my study, and further than that, you'll break it down. You'll say, okay, Monday evenings, I'll set aside 3 hours. Tuesday evening, I've got footy training on, so I can't do it then. Wednesday evening, I'll set aside 3 hours, and so on and so on. Our expectation, with this being a full-time course, is that you're allocating 20 hours per week to your study. So if you're not able or not willing to allocate that amount of time, you're going to have to be very, very careful with how you proceed. Each unit, generally speaking, will have a 7-week deadline for completion of that, and that might sound like a long time, and it actually is. With 20 hours per week, 7 weeks, that's upwards of 140 hours. So that is actually a long time. So it's ample time to complete a unit within that deadline. If you find that you're not committing to that 20 hours per week, it becomes a bit tighter, but the 7-week deadline stays in place. Please make sure that you do let your trainer know what your allocation of time will be. Now, as far as your progress goes, you need to get into a habit of study, and that's exactly what it is. It's not something that's particularly pleasurable to do, but it is something that you can do if you get into the habit of just setting aside regular time, uninterrupted time to do your work. On that point of progress, each week your progress is completely tracked online. When you log on, when you log off, how long you were looking at something and so on. That's all actually managed by the e-learning system behind the scenes. And hopefully something that will never happen. If for some reason you go through a 3-week span of time and there's zero activity and there's zero communication from you, and I can assure you during that 3 weeks your trainer will be contacting you saying what's going on. If for some reason that happens, you will be immediately assessed as not competent in that unit and advised so accordingly, and then moved on to your next unit. So that's certainly not something we're looking for, but it's just one of the measures that we've got in place to help keep things rolling. Now, you're assessed on the answers that you provide for the assessment questions, and that might seem very obvious, but that's not the only thing you're assessed on. Remember, we spoke about foundation skills and the fact that we as trainers or a training organization always look at how you're carrying yourself, your professional ability, how you're responding to communications with us and things like that. So it's not just the answers that you give, but it's the attitude that you provide to your work as well. So they're just as real in terms of determining your competency as answering a question. You will receive via email a training plan, and that will explicitly list out each of the units that you're enrolled in, and it'll also then provide sample dates for when that information will need to be done for each one of those units, due dates, things like that. So, what are the possible outcomes for the diploma itself? The preferred outcome for us and for you will be that you successfully complete all of your units. So that might be 8 units, it might be 20 units, depending on your diploma that you're enrolled in. And if you do that, you will be issued your diploma qualification. Now, reality is you might not successfully complete all your units. You might find that there was a particular strain of units, maybe it's financial units that you were just bombing out on, and despite all of our best help and best intention, you just couldn't get through that unit. Don't panic, don't give up, don't get too depressed by that sort of thing. It's just an area that you can improve on later. You can still be issued with a statement of attainment for the units that you have successfully completed. And look, on that matter as well, if it turns out that there's a unit that you've tried and you've shown that you've put a lot of effort into, and it appears that no, you're not going to be able to pass that unit or deemed as competent in that unit, we're happy to talk to you about opening up a substitute unit, perhaps in an area that would be more suited to your skills. So it's not over till we say it's over. So certainly don't give up. That's the main thing. Now, the great thing is that once you complete this diploma, that then opens other avenues to you. So you might like to do other diplomas. You might like the idea of completing your diploma of management and then going on to a diploma of human resources. That's completely fine. Or you might go on to higher education through advanced diplomas and articulation right through to university. So they're all good plans and good goals to have. Concentrate on getting the diploma done first, but we're there to help you when you want to move onwards and upwards from there. And one of the key goals and one of the key things that we monitor and measure is your preparedness for business. Businesses rely on us as a training organization to provide you with excellent quality training and fair and real assessment of your abilities. So one of the key outcomes we're after is to see that you are better prepared for your entry into business. So we'll continue on with this presentation in part 2 of the YouTube videos coming up.